Hey, I'm Farren, it's like Karen, and I'm the cardstock creative of Farren Celeste. I show you how to make cardstock projects with your cutting machine using my SVG files. An SVG file is a digital cutting template that you use with a Cricut or Silhouette cutting machine. In this video, I'm going to show you how to assemble my paper dahlias. You can get the SVG file to make these paper flowers in the video description below. I like to give the leaves a little bit of a shape with a bone folder. If you don't have one, you could use a pair of scissors. For the stem leaf, I like to fold it along the score line and then give it a little bit of shape. For the center, I'm going to use this quilling tool to curl the spiral. If you don't have a quilling tool, you could just use a toothpick. But the quilling tool has a little slit in it, so you can just slide the paper in and then curl it around the quilling tool. But again, you could also just use a toothpick, or I've heard a bobby pin works too. When you get to the end, place some glue on the tab and glue that tab to the side of the spiral. Then use your fingers to push the petals inward so it's a nice and tight circle. Now you want to shape the 3 smallest petal shapes by curling them inward with a bone folder. Again, a pair of scissors works as well. And these 3 petal shapes plus that little spiral center we just created will become the center of the flower. You'll see this shape I'm making here is more of a star shape, and there's 2 of those. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the first star shape and put some glue in the center, and then glue that spiral shape to the center of it and press the petals around the center. Then takes the next star shape, and you want to just offset the petals as you glue them together. And then that cluster will go on top of the next smallest petal shape. Sometimes I will cut the center spiral from the same colored paper that I'm using for the petals to give the flowers a different look. Now we are going to start by shaping our next set of petals, and we're going to be working from smallest to biggest. I'm using this longer quilling tool, but you could use a toothpick. And what you want to do is fold each petal around your toothpick or your quilling tool to give the petals a circular type shape. So I'm going to repeat this process for the first 4 shapes that look like this. So there are 6 petals that look like this total, 2 small, 2 medium, and then 2 larger size. So we're going to be doing the 2 smalls and the 2 mediums folded with the skinny toothpick or the skinny quilling tool. So now we'll have the first 4 sets of petals like these shaped. So we're going to glue the medium-sized ones together first by putting some glue in the center and offsetting the petals, and then gluing the centers together. And then just repeat this process by gluing the 2 smaller ones on top. And as you're building this stack of petals, just make sure to offset the petals as you're gluing the centers together. Once you reach the top, then put some glue in the middle and place our middle cluster of petals from earlier in the center. Now we have 2 more shapes of petals like the ones we were just working with, and this time instead of using a toothpick or a long quilling tool, I'm using this rounded ball stylus, but you just want something to fold the petals around that's a little bit thicker. So you could use the top part of a pencil or a wooden skewer just to give the petals a little bit of shape, but not completely folded over on each other like we did the first set of 4. So now these two we will just offset and glue together. And then glue these to the bottom of our existing stack of petals. So this becomes the top half of our flower. All of the petals that have a hole in the center become the petals for the bottom half of the flower. And I'm going to give those petals some shape by just using that same tool. Again, you could use a pencil or a wooden skewer if you don't have a tool like the one I'm holding. And I'm just going to shape them from smallest to biggest. So the reason why these base petals have a hole in the center is so that way you can thread a piece of floral wire through to create a stem if you want. But first I'm going to glue them together. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue in the center around that little middle circle that's cut out. And I'm just going to offset the petals as I glue these in a stack. And this time, like we did before, we're gluing biggest on the bottom to smallest as you work your way up. And I'm being careful not to get any glue on that center hole so that way we can thread a piece of floral wire through it. If you don't want to add floral wire, you don't have to. From here, all you would do is just glue the top half to the bottom half. So to add a stem, I'm just going to curl one side of the floral wire over and then thread it through the holes. And then just glue our loop to the center of the flower. And then from there in that center, I'm just going to put a bunch of glue and glue the top half there on top. So it's kind of like we're sandwiching that floral wire loop in the middle. Now I'm just going to thread the base leaf onto the stem and glue it to the bottom of the flower. Now I just like to fold those base petals down a little bit to give the flower a little bit more shape. For this stem, I used an 18 gauge floral wire, and for the stem of the leaf, I'm going to cut a piece of 22 gauge wire. So I just like to use a gauge floral wire that is skinnier than the one I used for the stem. So to create the stem for the leaf, I'm just going to glue the 22 gauge floral wire onto the tab and then just wrap the whole thing in floral tape. Next, I'm going to wrap the stem of the dahlia in floral tape, and to get the floral tape to stick, you just have to twist it around the stem and pull at the same time, and then I'll make it stick on itself. Then once you get down a little bit, I'll just line up the stem of the leaf and then wrap the floral tape around both, so that way the leaf attaches to the stem of the dahlia. If you have a question, don't hesitate to ask in the comments. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for even more cardstock projects for your cutting machine.